Welcome back to Joe's Toolbox Exchange. Today we're going to be looking at a Matco JSC773 tool cart. I almost made this video last night, but I really didn't want to. It's a lot easier to look at a box and say I love it and the things I like about it. And even across some brands, it's easy to say I like this cart more than others. It's hard to make a video where I have a lot of complaints about a box, especially from a brand like Matco. I really like Matco. I'm wearing a Matco shirt. I have 3 Matco boxes. I'm a fan of Matco as a brand. I like a lot of their products. I like their 4Ss. I really like their 6Ss. I really don't like their carts. Of all of their carts, this is probably my favorite cart, so that maybe says a lot. But before we get into that, I want to mention the giveaway. The giveaway ends on the 14th of September. It is going to be for a $300 speaker, the Klipsch KMC1. The one on top is the one we use here in the shop. The one we're giving away is this new one. So the pinned top comment will be the link to enter the giveaway. And for the boxes now, what we're going to be comparing it to is a little bit hard because there's not really a great direct comparison to Snap-on, which is kind of what I like to compare things to, because Snap-on is sort of the benchmark for tools and toolboxes in today's day and age. But this right here is going to be a Snap-on slide top, as you can see. This is what we're going to compare it to. The flip top is almost the exact same on all the dimensions and everything. I just don't have one here currently. The slide top is a KRSC430, and then the flip top of the exact same size is going to be a KRSC46. That's what we're going to compare it to, although those boxes are a little bit less expensive actually. I like them a lot more. The biggest reason they're not a direct comparison is because these are stainless flip tops. Snap-on does have a stainless flip top, but it's not going to be a 40, it's going to be a 36-inch, and it's called a deluxe, and it's a lot more expensive. It's $4,000, whereas these boxes are $2,350 if they're a flip top, and $2,865 if it's a slide top. This box is $2,600, so this box is slightly less than a Snap-on slide top and slightly more than a Snap-on flip top. But the reason we're going to compare it to a Snap-on is because there are quite a few similarities with the 40-inch cart. The dimensions, almost the exact same. The weight rating on the casters, almost the exact same. The prices, pretty similar. And the slide weight rating is also pretty similar. So I know this is kind of a lot of people. Snap-on and Matco are definitely the biggest tool trucks in this area, probably in the nation. Judging by their volume of truck drivers, they are the largest 2 companies for tool sales. And I think that's why it's a good comparison also. I have a lot of complaints with this box. Like I said, we'll kind of go through them. I'm going to go through the specs on it first, though. In the bottom of the video, in the description, you'll see the more. If you hit that, I'll have all of the specs for it listed out, and I'll also list them all out for the slide top next to it, so you can just see that in comparison. The weight rating on both these boxes, in fact all Snap-on carts, and is going to be the same as this, and that's 600 pounds per caster. The overall weight rating for the Snap-on 40-inch carts, though, is 2,400 pounds, which means the fail point of the box is the casters, while they say this box weight rating is only 1,000 pounds, which leads me to believe maybe they don't trust the frame quite as much, because they're not saying the fail point is the casters, they're saying the fail point is the box, having it, you know, less than half of what the casters could actually carry. 1,000 pounds is pretty small weight rating for a cart, considering this one right next to it is 2,400. So way more tools, weighted tools. So if you're like a diesel tech and you have a lot of big tools that weigh a lot, that's a huge advantage of a Snap-on. The weight rating per slide, though, is actually going to be higher on a Matco. They're 140 pounds per set of slides, where a Snap-on is going to be 120. The Snap-on does have an option to add a second slide to every single drawer, while the Matco JSC773 has them on the bottom drawer, but as you can see, the rest of them are single and you cannot add them. So you are stuck at, bottom, hold a lot, 240, the rest, or rather 280, the rest 140, and there's no way to change that, although that is adequate for most of these drawers. 140 is very high for a drawer of this size. The weight is quite a bit higher on this box. I could not find it online, so we actually threw it on a pallet scale, and this box weighs in at almost 350 pounds on the dot. That box right there weighs 300, and the flip top weighs 265. 265 on a flip, 305 on a slide, and this box is 350. So, you're at, what, 15–16% more overall steel weight inside of this box right here. which is quite a lot. They're both gonna have the same number of drawers, which is 6 drawers. You get a little more variation on this box with smaller drawers on top, medium drawers in the middle, and then a big drawer on the bottom. I like that a lot more than Snap-on's layout, which is going to be all medium drawers and then one bigger drawer on the bottom. Something else I do like about the Matco is on the inside of it, their pry bar holders. They have a square one, which I like. They're on both sides. These fit pry bars, or because pry bars have a square tip, so you can angle them in and fit them in easier. And it also comes with this heavy material that is almost the exact same that used to be on top of the 2 or 4S's. It's a really thick plastic, and you see a lot of wear from dropping screwdrivers and pry bars into these slots all day. And I just like to see that they have a little protection there, because that's definitely the worst part to clean on a toolbox, and it's definitely the part that wears out the most. I mean, a screwdriver is one of the most common used tools, so as you take one out all day long, it's hitting the edges of it and just taking that paint off, so it's nice they put a little protector there. It's even easier to say the things I like than the things I don't. It's kind of hard to say that I don't like this box, because I love Matco. Some of my big complaints about it, though, my biggest is the top. So with a Snap-on or even this Mac, which we've looked at in another video, if you shut the top, it stays shut, and if you lift it, it stays lifted. These carts do not do that. I'm not super familiar with the JSC773s. We've only had a few of these, but I've had a lot of JSC770s, and from what I can tell, the only difference on them is going to be the trim is now aluminum, and the bumpers are now rubber. It used to be a plastic trim and a plastic bumper, so it looks like they just upgraded the overall trim on the box. So the build quality of it is the same. And the 770s have the exact same problem as the 773s, where the gas struts are not balanced correctly. So if you shut the top opens back up. This is really annoying because they put a stainless top on top of this box, implying it's a work surface. You know, it's chemical resistant, it's wear resistant, but in order for you to use it, you actually have to lock the box in order to use it, and that's a pain because unlike Snap-on, Snap-on has a secondary lock system for the drawers, and most brands do. In fact, the Maximizer has a second lock with a key on the inside of it to independently operate the drawers. Most Mac carts are going to have a flip lever on the inside, and some really cheap carts like Harbor Freight, they actually have detents on the back of it, so when you shut the lid, it locks the drawers. But Matco's is way different than this. This lever locking bar is a great design. I'm not sure why Matco won't just adapt to that, because that's the easiest to use. It's also the easiest to use because if you're rolling it across the shop and you're worried about the drawers coming open, you don't have to get your keys out. You can just bump that lever and it'll lock the drawers. In order to lock these drawers, though, you have to actually lock the entire box. And now your drawers are unlocked. And we're actually going to cut the video and we'll take this all apart, and then I'll come back and show you what that looks like, because it's a really complicated lock system that almost always fails. This is the most common wear item on these boxes. The 770s have them broken all the time, and these 2 little tabs, if you want to show this here, these 2 little tabs break all the time. And once these 2 little tabs break, they're almost impossible to service, because I can't find a way to get in here because this is all welded. I don't know why they chose to use this design to make it to where you cannot access these pins, because these pins are just hanging out here and they break a lot, and then when they break, you can't lock your box anymore, and you see one broken all the time or both broken, very common, and at that point the box is almost totaled. Short of people will put a padlock on the outside of it and have a locking bar, you know, with the hinge here, and they'll put a padlock on it. I see that a lot, and I'm sure you guys do too if you're looking at Marketplace, because those do break so often, and the inside of this is a lot of moving parts. Where a Snap-on is not many moving parts, on a flip top it's even less. It's just a little lever that flips over and engages with the lid. On this box it's these 2 pins come up, but it's very few moving parts. And then they have a secondary system which you're just raising and lowering that bar. Matco has a system in here which is actually sliding these 2 bars, and also underneath this drawer there's a bar that goes to the back which is controlling the drop levers for the drawers. So this one lock has way too many moving parts on it, and it does break a lot. Also, if you try to shut this box and for some reason your box was locked already, that's why they break so often, or maybe it wasn't fully unlocked, these pins come down and slam into the top of these guys, and once that happens, it'll either break the pins or deform the metal to the point that the box no longer locks, and once again, if your box can't lock, it's almost totaled, especially on a cart where you move it a lot. So like I said, we'll cut the video. I'll take this all apart so you can see it's kind of hard. It's like a bunch of screws and a bunch of little clips that you got to take off, and I'll be back. All right, so we have all the drawers pulled out besides the bottom one. We'll just slide that out so you guys can see inside. And then also we've taken out this top mechanism. Another complaint I have, if you want to look at this, nothing here lines up like it should. These are these clips. They go in these holes, and then the rest are screws. If you can see in here, the screws are pretty well lined up. Some of them, like this one, are perfectly lined up, but these do not line up. So getting them out is really hard because it's like they just drilled the hole slightly in. Once there's these screws in here, 4 screws, then these 2 retention clips, this piece comes out. And this is the locking mechanism. So like I said, I already greased it, but if you look in here, this is textured. You can hear it. It shouldn't be textured. This should be smooth because it's actually what the lock is rubbing on. So when you unlock it, it's now rubbing against this piece here. And that's why it's so gritty, because it's hitting that heavily textured material. That top piece right here is what's actually sliding this piece. So this, when it locks, is what's engaging with these top clips. So you have a spring in here, which is actually hanging out on the outside of the box. So all the time these springs will get knocked off, and then the box won't work, or at least it won't return to the unlocked position, which is not great. So that happens occasionally. So when you turn this lock, it's got 2 pedals. One pedal is hitting this bar on the bottom. The other pedal is moving that whole top piece. It's a lot of moving parts. You have a spring in here. This thing is retentioned. And then if you want to look inside of the box, this is the inside of it. So up in here, you have this bar. And then I'll turn the lock on it so you can see this whole thing moving. So that bar is actually raising and lowering, which has also got a spring in it back there. So there's a ton of moving parts. Those springs also wear out. In fact, one isn't even hooked in all the way. Now it is. It's the same. But that's when I say these things are complicated and fail a lot. That's why, unlike a snap-on, a slide top or a flip top or a Mac flip top or any other flip top where it's just a single little pedal switching over. Here, you can show it inside this cleaning cart. This is usually what it is. You just have this little lock here. That's all. That's all it's doing. It's just flipping up and engaging with your lid. Very, very simple. Never fails. When you're talking about something like this, you have 3 springs. You have this whole sliding bar engaging with a couple of pins on the lid. And then you also have it flip in a giant lever that goes to the back of the box and controls all the drawers. It shouldn't be that complicated. When you look at like a snap-on triple bank, it has 3 giant locking bars in the back, and it's locking all these drawers. Very smooth. Very smooth. Something like this, not smooth. It's way too complicated, and that's why you see these failures. That's a crucial component of a box, is the fact that you can lock it and move it. And if it doesn't work very well, in my opinion, that's something really to consider. So we'll get it all back together. We'll move past the locks. I'll probably stop mentioning them. I think the reason I really harp on this is I spent a lot of time fixing these. When I get a snap-on in, no time fixing these. When I get one of these in, I got 2 hours trying to get the lock mechanisms to work again. It's a huge waste of time. And most of you guys don't even fix them. They just end up broken, and you put a padlock on them or something else, and it looks bad, and it hurts the value of the box. So we'll get it back together, and then we'll continue looking at the box. All right, so we got it all back together now, and I have lubricated all the pieces, so this is about as smooth as this is ever going to work. But as I showed in the inside, because of that painted texture that they have on this, they call this a hammered. That is why that gauge, that lock, is wanting to not be very smooth. And you can see it here. Maybe you can even hear it. But this, you hear this sound? That metal rubbing, it should really be a piece of polished metal in there, which wouldn't have that effect. But this lock is just not good sounding and very gritty. And they are all like this. Maybe with a bunch of cycles on that lock, you would polish the metal down eventually to where it works smoother, but from the factory, you should have had a piece of coated metal there, not the hammered. So if you get a box that's like gloss black, it doesn't really have that issue because that metal is already has a polished paint on it, or a really smooth paint rather than this textured hammered color. So I would say that's a small complaint, but it's really not. I mean, when you're spending $2,600 on a box, it's kind of a big complaint. You know, things should be a little bit more precise in my opinion. Now this is the next problem I have with the lock. Most of my complaints for these boxes are the lock mechanism as a whole. But it's pretty natural. You're at the end of the day or whatever, you're wanting to shut your box and you're wanting to lock it. So I shut the box and I lock it. No, it didn't lock. Why didn't it lock? I don't know. Was I not shutting it hard enough? I don't know. Okay, so now we're really leaning into it. All my weight is down. The metal is touching the metal here. They all do this. This isn't just this box. This isn't an issue with this box. This is an issue with this design as a whole. You have to apply relatively even pressure to the top of the box. If you just shut it naturally like you would, you know, if you're locking with this hand or locking it with this hand, usually your other hand is up on the other side of the lock. It's just natural. You have to be really aware that you have to actually get on top of that lock mechanism to shut it. Still no. All right, so we got it locked. Fantastic, right? But did it actually lock? It did, so we're good. Something I would like to say though, it didn't happen here, which I'm surprised. It usually does, is you'll see another slight complaint. When you unlock the top, it does hold. It does hold. The drawers are now unlocked, but now if you bump the top, it unlocks. But that only works the first time you unlock it. If it stayed down now until you bumped it, it would be fine, but it doesn't. It's only on the lock, and then the unlock. It's just weird. It's just not really right. But a lot of times, you'll be shutting a box like this. If I can get it to do it. Okay, this is what happens a lot with the box. If you want to come look at it from the front, the box looks locked. It's not. It's only locked on one detent. If you come over to this side, you'll actually see the side of this box is not locked. And maybe I can get into here to where you guys can see it. That pin is right here. It's not in there. It's not in there. If I shut it, I can't even get it to lock. I'd have to unlock it and relock it. This becomes a bigger issue as the box wears because this is a relatively new box. It's less than 2 years old. And this is why the customer traded it in. I get these a lot on trade-in because they don't like them because of some of these reasons. It sounds like small complaints, but you guys are working out of these things every single day of your career, and these little things add up. If every day you're in the middle of a project and you're getting annoyed by the way your box works, it's definitely not a good workflow. That's why we're spending sometimes tens of thousands of dollars on a toolbox. It's because of that functionality that makes the job easier. If it makes your job harder and you're annoyed by it, at that point, I don't know if it's worth the money. Those are just the locks. This is really my first complaint of several. My next is going to be the trim. It is really nice that they did aluminum trim. Besides, all of this aluminum trim is pretty sharp. Okay, this is very thick aluminum and it's sharp. The bumpers of the box don't stick out as far as the actual trim of it. The trim sticks out quite a bit farther. So if you look at a box like this, you'll notice that the trim sits on the inside of the bumper. So when your box is moving, it protects that aluminum edge. On a box like this, you see tons of wear on here from scraping against vehicles because they didn't have the bumpers out far enough or recessed the drawers enough. So you have all these sharp aluminum pieces hanging out of the side. Snap-on's design is a lot better with the bumper. If you're gonna have bumpers, at least make them protect the box. You know, if you put this up against a trailer wall, for instance, all of this is gonna be exposed. And same goes for the top. That top even overhangs the bumpers. So if you're moving your box across the shop, these front bumpers are now worthless. They're not doing anything because this is still gonna bang into vehicles, it's still gonna bang into lifts, it's still gonna bang into shop equipment, it's gonna damage the box and it's gonna damage whatever it bumps into. Where Snap-on, their bumpers are the upmost edge, outside of the handle. There's no way around this. But these bumpers, if you bang it, it's hitting the bumper. If you bang this, the bumpers are just there for show. I like that they're rubber. That is an upgrade from the 770. The plastic always cracked out on the 770s. It was very brittle, and in, you know, the changing humidities and temperatures in shops, the plastic on the 770, the trim, would always be broken, or at least a lot broken. And they had these pins that went through it, retention pins, and they would always be broken, and there was something just constantly being replaced. So they went to this rubber. Great, right? No, it's just as bad, because these things, on both of them I've had, and currently on Marketplace, there's 3 others for sale in this area that all need the bumpers warranted. They all need the bumpers warranted because they're not good. If you want to come show this one's even got some broken. You see how easy that was to pull off? I mean, I barely pulled it off. Come show this snap-on. If I want to get this snap-on off, it is a ton of work. These things do not... They are very hard to get off. They stay in there forever. And that's because I think they took the same bad plastic they made the bumpers out of, and they're still plastic. These retention clips, this one right here, you see it's failed. You see this one failed. This one failed. You can see the discoloration in the plastic. These have all failed. This one's missing one. These ones here are good. It's got 3 good ones. These little retention clips are very thin and very cheap. This is a snap-on bumper. These things are beefy. You're not going to break them. They're way better plastic. Even on carts that are 20 years old, these things hold up a lot better. So great, you have a bumper on there and it falls off, and a lot of you are going to say it's a warranty item, and that's fine. I understand it's a warranty item. But in my opinion, a warranty is, you broke a tool. It's because usually we were abusing the tool, or we used the tool a lot, or there was a defect in the tool. These are not defects in the manufacturing. This just is how they are manufactured, and they're not breaking because of unnormal use. They're breaking under normal operating conditions. If you had a ratchet that broke, you know, every week that you used it, it doesn't matter if it's a warranty item. It would be a bad ratchet. And that's kind of my opinion here. You know, the argument is, oh, if they break, you just get a new one. I mean, I agree, but how many times are you going to replace the bumpers? How many times are you going to get back on the truck and tell your dealer you broke, you know, a set of several $100 bumpers again? And I don't know why they break. What is it, because they're getting hit? I don't know what scenario is causing these to snap on almost every box that I see. For the JSC773s, I don't know. The 770s, at least they stayed on, but they didn't use retention clips. They used like the trim piece, the pad pieces similar to on the top of the box when we took that lock mechanism off. Similar to those, you know, what you hold like paneling on in vehicles or inside the wheel wells. It's those little pieces. And those didn't wear out as often. The plastic would just crack out on them over time, but at least they stayed on. They don't stay on anymore. Another thing I'm going to complain about is I don't really like the wheels on these boxes. For 600 pounds, they should be, I mean, it's just a loud box. It doesn't roll great. Snap-on's boxes are 1,000 times better. I mean, they roll smoother. They're easier to move. These are pretty heavy. If you're going to use a solid plastic wheel like this, that's fine, but you should at least have a really high weight rating out of it, you know? Snap-on their Epics have a plastic wheel similar to this, a similar material, but that's because they're rated for thousands of pounds. So if you're making a wheel like this, if you're going to only have it be rated as 600 pounds, it should just be rubber. I don't know why. If you say your box is only meant to hold 1,000 pounds, at least make it rubber. I don't know. These plastic wheels, they just roll really bad. And that is some of the reasons I point these out is the point in a cart isn't to sit against the wall. The point on a cart is to move. If you're moving your cart a lot, you're going to be bumping into things. That's going to be a problem. The fact that this overhangs the front is going to be a problem. They used aluminum trim on everything, but they still have the plastic trim on the front. This is the most furthest point of the box. This is where you're going to see the most wear, and it's plastic. Why isn't this piece aluminum like the rest of the box? I don't know. This is the most important piece of trim in my opinion, and it's the exact same trim that was on the 770s. My last complaint overall with the box, I don't just want to sit here and harp on Matco. This is a hard video to make. You know, I want to say I unbiasedly review these boxes, but if anything, the truth is I'm biased to like these boxes. I do like these brands, so it's hard for me to say that I don't like these carts. I mean, I wish this wasn't the case, but also I tell this to you guys when you come to buy a box, you know. Someone came yesterday for that Heritage. I told them don't buy the Heritage, get a Snap-on double classic. I'll sell you the double classic for 19. It's got a stainless top on it, and that Heritage is 15. I said you should just spend the extra money. I don't like the Heritage. I say the same thing when you guys come here in person, so I want that to be how this channel is. If you guys are considering this box, I want you to at least know what you're getting into. So on a cart, you move it a lot like I mentioned. I don't like this design. This is not a bad design on a full-size box that does not move a lot, because really the tension just has to be there enough to prevent the drawers from coming open. These are these little dial indicators. You spin it. So here is going to be a 6. The other side is the exact same dial. It's just inverted, so you spin it the other way. And now this drawer is very hard to open, where if you spin it all the way down to a 1, the drawer is almost no detent. These fail out quite often. That's probably the most out of all of the designs. A couple of brands use this design. Mac uses it, Matco uses it, and Cornwell and Snap-on do not use it. Besides, they do on some of their smaller carts. Well, Cornwell used to. They don't anymore. I like the slide latch a lot more. It's a lot harder to open a drawer. On this, if you are rolling the box and you don't have them set quite high enough and maybe your floor is uneven, these drawers are going to drift. If they drift, the box is going to flip. If enough of these drawers come open, the box is going to flip. I mean, the entire box only weighs 350 pounds. So if you have 500 pounds worth of tools in the drawers and the drawers come open, it's definitely going to flip. And if it flips, it's going to damage possibly a human. It's definitely going to damage the box. The box is going to be borderline totaled because it's going to bend out the rails on the slides and warp the drawers. And that's not, the drawers themselves are not covered under warranty, so you're going to be SOL there. And then also, all of your tools are going to be dumped across the shop, and you're probably going to damage equipment. You're probably going to hit a customer's vehicle. So that's a really big issue on these carts. Like I said, on the bigger boxes, like I have a bunch of 4S's, I really like them, and it's the same exact system, but it's not a problem because the box isn't moving across the shop all day. So I know that if it's not set perfectly, it's not like they're going to roll. But if you're rolling this across the shop and you hit uneven floor, and it jerks that box and your drawers start boom, 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 they're going to fall out. And if you guys are in tool forums, you'll see pictures of JSC770s flipped over all the time. It's definitely the most common flipped box. And with the Snap-on, finally got it. That's a lot of force to pop that drawer. So you're not doing that under normal conditions. If you're rolling it across your shop, that drawer is not going to slide open on its own, where these definitely can slide open on their own, especially if you don't quite have it dialed high enough. Not a huge fan of that. I wish that this cart was a little bit different. There's a lot of things I wish that were a little bit different. Another one is the handle. If you want to show this, this is Snap-on's handle. On their carts and also on their Classic series, it's the exact same handle. It's not welded. This is a solid piece. It's never broken. I've never seen one of these broken. I've seen them bent before, but that was because they tied a strap to it. And really, they will not bend unless the box is bent. So if you strap this and pull down the strap, it'll destroy the walls of the box before it destroys or deforms the handle. These are Matco handles. I have a pile of them in the other room because they're always like this. And this right here, here's a better one, but you can still see the cupping in the handle. This is a little bit of a weld right here. It's basically a spot weld. That's the only thing that's holding your mounting bracket to the handle. It's a couple little welds on either side of this plate. And this is, I could probably break this off if I just bent it like this. And look, even that one is bent. So it's bent this way. And this is a good handle by Matco standards. So this handle doesn't have this problem, but it's going to have this problem because if you're trying to, get it up over the lip of something and you lift up from it right here, it's going to just bend this out and probably crack the welds. So I don't know. I would definitely be aware of this. When you're moving these boxes, you got to be really careful not to lift up from here. And you got to be really careful just to try to push it straight forward and back. Where the Snap-on, I can pick up from the handle, I can pick up the entire box. No problem. I'm not worried about the box. I know it's not going to damage it. But like right now, I don't even want to try to lift the Matco because I know it's going to break the handle off of it. I know there was a lot of complaints about this box, and I think it's hard for me to make because I know that you guys probably have these, and if they work for you, that's great. I'm not telling you to regret your purchase. If this is what you're using, fantastic. That's awesome. If this is something you're considering, I would definitely look at some other options. if you have a great deal on the truck, this box right here will sell for $1,000. It's in very good condition. It's $1,000. This slide top is $1,500. I don't know. That's a lot more money. It's a lot more money. Snap-on does make a stainless flip top. Like I said before, that's $4,000. Although the stainless flip top is a way better build quality than this because the entire lid is stainless, where the Matco is actually steel with a stainless piece taped to the top of it, where Snap-on's entire lid is stainless, so you never have to worry about, you know, that peeling off. I know this is a lot of information, and it's definitely not fun to make some of these videos. It's more fun to like look at this giant Epic and say, look how cool it is. It's cool. It's fun having the giant 6S Matcos or the Revel series and saying, look how awesome these boxes are. Look how high the build quality is. It's hard to make a video and say, this is a brand I like for thousands of dollars selling a cart that I think is subpar. So I hope that the next video is a little bit more fun to make, and I do appreciate you guys watching. The giveaway is going to be pinned in the top comment, and until next time, thank you for watching.